Hello and welcome to Kris Podcast. Glad to have you. So excited that you're here. We're going to go over a case out of California. So the topic is always harassment. This one is harassment and it has some other tones to it, including sexual harassment, retaliation. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this one. This is regarding Thomas Lee versus YRC. YRC is a freight company. It's a trucking company. They do transport commerce throughout America. So this case was just filed in February of 2021, and Lee is a truck driver and a dock worker who began working at YRC in May 2016. Lee alleges that Hagee, his supervisor, sexually harassed him while working on the docks of the YRC truck terminal. So this is same sexual harassment, same sex sexual harassment. He also complains about offensive sex-related comments made by coworkers as a result of Hagee's actions and alleges that Hagee retaliated against him. So Hagee is a Mr. and Thomas Lee is the actual plaintiff. So about a year later, Hagee punched or tapped Lee on his shoulder, and Lee told Hagee not to touch him. Some people just have a thing about touch, and the best thing that we can do, especially in a work environment, is to honor their request. About a month later, Hagee punched Lee's coworker on the shoulder and also punched Lee on the shoulder at the same time. So he was getting both of their attention, and once again Lee reminded Hagee that he had already told him not to touch him. So this is a second request of not touching. He doesn't want to be touched. Then a couple of months later, Hagee actually took it to another level. He had his clipboard with him and he swiped Lee across his buttocks. So he hit Lee on his butt with his clipboard, making a comment about work at the same time. So Lee has already asked him twice not to touch him. So this time Lee is a little bit more unhappy with the situation. I will not use the colorful language at all during any of this podcast, but he did say, "What the F do you think you are doing?" And Hagee said that he didn't mean anything by it. And Lee asked Hagee, "Would you have hit a female worker on her butt?" And Hagee said no. So Lee decided to tell his coworkers about the clipboard situation, about Hagee touching his butt with a clipboard. So what would you think? This is in California and San Diego specifically. And would you say that California is one of those states that's known for being conservative or liberal? Have you ever heard, or would you say that California is known for accepting others as they are, or do they not do that? What is your opinion? Do you think that by Lee sharing these details to his coworkers, and this is a blue collar industry, right? So they're truck drivers and dock workers. Do you think that these workers are going to show empathy towards them and they're going to build a tighter bond? Or do you think that they're going to joke about it and make fun of Lee? What do you think is going to happen? So he told his coworkers about the situation, and this is the response from the coworkers. One of them said, "Oh, you have a nice A." I'll say butt, but he said A. "Oh, you have a nice butt." Another one said, "Don't bend over, Hagee." Another one said, "Hagee's looking at your A. Hagee's looking at your butt." When Lee bent over in the course of his work, another coworker said, he used a different word, but I'm going to say darn. Darn, now I know what Hagee was looking at. And another one said, do I need to pat you on the A to get you to come over here and do this? Do I need to pat you on the butt to get you to come over here and do this? Another one said, you look sad. You don't miss Hagee? And another coworker bought a can of nuts to work, and the coworkers referred to the nuts with sexual connotations and asked if they were Lee's or Hagee's. And Lee was offended because it insinuated that he did not mind Hagee's prior behavior. And another one, well, actually not another one, this is Hagee, the supervisor, made another comment to Lee and told Lee and another coworker to get a room when he saw that they were both working late into the night. And also a customer outside of the workplace also knew about the incident where Hagee hit Lee with a clipboard. So when you think about all these incidents that happen and you have someone you're dealing with who doesn't want to be touched and obviously doesn't want to be thought of with those type of jokes that was said about him. When you think about you have that, so either you're an HR, you're a manager, whatever your situation is that you're in, that you were inspired to listen to this, or maybe you're an employee who's experienced this. Please write in the comments and let me know, what do you think about this so far? Like, what do you think about what his coworkers did and what the manager did? So 3 times he said to his supervisor, don't touch me. And then he decided to share it with his coworkers, probably thinking, they can collaborate and build a rapport and, be there for one another. And instead of that, they're making fun of him. So please comment and let me know what you think of that. So obviously Lee is still uncomfortable with all the situation now because now it's spreading. So he confronted, obviously he's already confronted his supervisor, which is Hagee, but he decided to also let Hagee's supervisor, which is John Mead. John Mead is a terminal manager, so he's like over a couple of terminals. So he told John Mead about the situation. And John Mead actually told HR, right? So if you're in HR, that's typical. That's usually part of it. If there's an issue, an employee's having an issue and a concern that needs to be resolved, especially something of this nature, that HR, you're going to get HR involved because that's your duty as a manager, is to make sure issues are resolved. So that's what John Mead did. He got HR involved. HR did investigate and they did discipline Hagee, the supervisor. What they did was a write-up and actually required that he take a course on interpersonal skills, which this is California. California, and this was 2021, so California has a law that, well, I guess actually when the incidents happened and when he was complaining was 2017. So this is a new law that was just released with regards to sexual harassment training. So I guess they were able to not have to follow that where the HR would just automatically, get him into another sexual harassment training or something. But even despite that, it is a law in California that you have to take sexual harassment training now every 2 years for supervisors. I honestly would have recommended that anyways. I would have had him take sexual harassment. And I probably would have rolled it out completely to all the management team and maybe to the employees too. I would definitely have had him take sexual harassment or just harassment training. Okay. So in addition to that, Lee still wasn't satisfied, so he did file a grievance with the union. The union actually dismissed his grievance because HR has already handled the situation with Hagee and disciplined him. So the union felt like the issue or the resolution they would have sought was already resolved, so there wasn't much for them to do. But in this whole situation, when I was telling you that he confronted the supervisor, Lee confronted the supervisor, Lee said it to his coworkers, and he also said it to John Mee, the regional manager. Why didn't Lee go to HR? What is your opinion of that? And Lee is a truck driver. Do you think that he knows about HR and when he should go to them? Because I know that sometimes people in the field, it's a little bit different than office workers because we're in there, we get to see everything, right? So if they're in the field, is that something that we should expect in HR that they should just know? So please comment about that question. So he did file, it was actually 6 different issues. Sex discrimination, which is disparate treatment, quid pro quo sexual harassment, hostile work environment, retaliation, failure to prevent harassment, discrimination and retaliation, and emotional distress. So he filed all this in court because he still wasn't satisfied. And he lost. So Lee lost the case, the company won. And these are some of the comments. And Lee did have an attorney, so it was attorney to attorney. But these are some of the comments of why he lost. Lee has not shown that the disparate treatment resulted in terms and conditions of his work that were more adverse to men than the terms and conditions for women. So he was claiming sexual because of sexual reasons, and this was the response. Another comment by the court was Lee has suffered no loss of tangible job benefits. He continues to work at YRC with the same duties. He was not demoted. His pay has not been reduced. He was not subject to discipline for his complaint about Hagee. So he didn't experience anything adverse except for what Lee considers humiliation, right? But it wasn't enough according to the court. The court needed more. Another comment by the court. Comments made by men to men with sexual connotations have been found to create a hostile work environment when the conduct as a whole was far more severe than what happened to Lee. And I've read some severe cases, and let me tell you, some of the cases will shock you what I've read in terms of what's been done. Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and go on to, the final solution, and the final resolution was that he lost every issue that he claimed. And I don't know if he's still in the same job or anything like that. It doesn't give us that type of an update, but I was just like, this comment, another comment that I read, really, I have a question about it for you. So Lee's employment was not conditioned on acceptance of Hagee's touching of him, right? After Lee reported Hagee's actions, Hagee was disciplined, and he did not touch Lee again, and Lee continued his employment at YRC without demotion or other employment action against him. So a change that is merely contrary to the employee's interest or not to the employee's liking is insufficient. You mean someone touching you on your butt isn't sufficient to complain about in terms of taking it to court. So basically, is you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. In my opinion, that's like a summary of, if you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen, because while you can complain and get it resolved internally, it may not be strong enough to hold up in court. Please comment below. Let me know what you think of this case. Please comment below and let me know what you think. I look forward to reading your comments. Have a great day.